The Pepper That Burns. The year was 1886, in a dusty traveling fair that wandered from town to town like a ghost looking for a place to rest. Lanterns flickered along crooked wooden stalls, and the smell of roasted peanuts and horse sweat hung thick in the cool evening air. At the center of the fair stood a striped canvas tent painted with faded gold stars. Above its entrance hung a wooden sign, "The Astonishing Wonders of Professor Alaric's Mystical Magic Show." Inside, the crowd packed tightly onto wooden benches. Farmers, children, merchants, and curious wanderers waited to see things they did not understand. And in the very front row sat Carolina Whitmore. Carolina was known in the town for two things: her sharp tongue and her hotter temper. Her red hair burned like autumn fire, and her patience was thinner than a thread. When Professor Alaric stepped onto the stage in his black coat and tall hat, the crowd applauded. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced with a theatrical bow, "prepare yourselves for wonders beyond explanation." His tricks were impressive: coins vanishing, ribbons turning into doves, cards appearing from thin air. The crowd gasped and clapped. But Carolina, she laughed. "It's a trick," she shouted. "A child could see through that." The audience turned toward her, murmuring. Professor Alaric forced a polite smile. "My dear young lady," he said calmly, "magic requires a little belief." "Well, I believe you're a fraud," Carolina snapped. "You hide things in your sleeves." The magician's smile tightened. "You risk ruining my show," he said quietly. "Oh, I'm ruining it," she scoffed. "You're ruining it yourself." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some laughed nervously. Others whispered for her to be quiet. But Carolina stood up on the bench. "Watch, everyone," she shouted. "He's about to do another cheap trick." Something changed in the magician's eyes. Slowly, he removed his gloves. "Very well," Professor Alaric said softly. "If you wish to be part of the show, come forward." The audience leaned closer as Carolina marched onto the stage with a smirk. "What are you going to do?" she mocked. "Turn me into a rabbit." The magician placed a small wooden box on the table. Strange symbols were carved into its sides. "Temper," he said calmly, "is a dangerous thing." Carolina rolled her eyes. "Just do your trick." Professor Alaric opened the box. Inside was a small seed. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice suddenly deeper, "tonight you will witness something unforgettable." The lanterns flickered. The air turned strangely warm. He whispered words no one understood. Carolina laughed, but her laughter stopped suddenly. Her body stiffened. "Wait." Her voice cracked. Her skin turned red. Her fingers shrank. Her scream became smaller, sharper, until, pop, something small fell onto the magician's table. The crowd gasped. Where Carolina once stood, there now rested a single twisted pepper, red as fire. Professor Alaric stared at it quietly. "Let this," he said to the horrified audience, "be a lesson in respect." No one clapped. No one spoke. The show ended early that night. But the story did not end there. The magician disappeared before sunrise, leaving the town behind forever. The strange pepper was buried outside the fairgrounds by a frightened farmhand who wanted nothing to do with it. But something in the soil changed. The next year, a plant grew. Its peppers were red, wrinkled, twisted like angry flames. Anyone who tasted one said it burned hotter than anything on earth. Some swore they could hear a faint whisper in the heat. A furious voice. A temper that never cooled. Years later, people would call it the Carolina Reaper. A pepper so hot it could make grown men cry. And sometimes, when the wind moves through the fields at night, old folks say they can still hear a faint warning carried through the leaves. You see, what happens when you are who you are, and what you do is wrong? Sometimes unintended consequences do come true. The whisper fades. So be careful what you do, because you never know who might be watching.